What's up everyone, Kokomochu here with another Sub-Rogue VOD review. This is a 20 Mists run on the more recent Fortified Bolstering Quaking Week. Starting off, we are going to go left here and do this Villager and Double Harvester pack. This pack's actually pretty tough for a few reasons. One, we pull in these Spike Claws, and so this gives us a pretty strict positioning requirement to be close to everything, so that the Spike Claws don't jump out and apply the bleed. And then 2 Harvesters is a lot of kicks, especially when there's the frontals from both the Villager and the that we need to avoid. We also end up spreading here and getting a bunch of these bleeds stacked up on people, and so this pull ends up going south pretty quickly. I had already used Cloak at one point to avoid a Spirit Bolt, so when I get targeted by the Villager with the Overgrowth, I use Vanish. Yeah, this pull is kind of crazy. I end up using a lot of CC here to stop these Harvesters. I'm kicking, I've used Kidney Shot, I've used Blind. This pull was definitely rough. But we make it out, just barely. Few deaths on the board already, starting off the key, which you hate to see, but it's all right. The pull is over, and we are okay on time. We had paused here just so we could get food buff back for all the people that died, and then we're going to Shroud past this next Villager pack. So I just double check to make sure that everyone's through, and then I'm gonna get up here and try to sap this guy just so in case Shroud runs out. And here my goal is to try and own a lot of stops on these Harvesters. So I'm coming in, getting started with my damage. I've got 1 on focus, and really I should be, I guess at this point I am just going to own X and have my team own the other kicks. So basically I can solo one of these guys, and then my team can take care of the other. But it looks like I don't have a kick, I don't really have a stop. We let that channel for a long time. I think the mistake I made there was maybe I should have sat on a Shadow Dance charge so I could get in and use Cheap Shot to stop that. I wasn't going to cap on Shadow Dance charges, and I had used it going into my flag buff for more damage, but I think the stop would have been more valuable there. This pull really sucks. So first of all, 2 target cleave is not good for sub. So you're basically going to be playing this as though it's like a single target fight while just keeping Rupture up on one of the mobs. So I just get Rupture going, and I see that I'm going to have flag here pretty soon, so I'm kind of like just biding my time. I think that's a bit of a mistake. I probably should have set my cooldowns a little bit sooner. But yeah, I'm basically just going to be hitting these guys single target. And then using Feint for the Thrash is huge damage reduction. On a higher key, you could both Feint and Crimson Vial, and you're just insanely tanky if you use both of those. But in this case, I'm just using Feint. So going into this boss, my plan is to put Ingram Alec on focus target so I can kick Spirit Bolts, and then I'm going to be popping pretty much everything except for Shadow Blades on the tree here. I expect that, at least with the buff, I will definitely have everything back for Ingra. And getting damage into this tree early on, you basically want to be spending 1 minute on the tree pretty much every time. Because if you're spending a long time on the tree, then even if you're holding a lot of damage for Ingram Alec, then the fight overall is going to be taking a long time. So you want at least 1 person to send damage on the tree. So we're about to phase the tree, and I don't quite have flag back. I think we put a lot of boss damage up here. So this was actually a bit unfortunate because I'm just getting into my ramp with flag a couple seconds into the burn phase. I also make a mistake here in putting 2 backstabs into the boss instead of shadow strikes. So that was not a great burn phase for me. But yeah, the name of the game here is to really just be trying to dodge the puddles and find spots to stand so you can hit the boss. And make sure that you're rotating kicks on this boss. For me, I'll often end up... Oh, here I use Cloak to stand in and keep doing boss stand, but there's actually a spot that I could have stood, which is a little bit unfortunate. But and then this burn is actually much cleaner for me, personally. I start with everything. I've got everything up on the boss. I've got no Shadow Blades, but I get procs from my 2-set bonus, so it's all good. Yeah, that boss, it's really important for someone to call kicks, so I've been trying to do kick calling and shot calling generally for my team, especially in AoE, because my AoE rotation is like so simple. It's just Shuriken Storm, Black Powder, and press damage cooldowns as often as possible. Single target, it's definitely a little more difficult, but on that boss, just looking at the kick tracker periodically and calling a kick is really helpful. So we have another 2-target fight. This is feels bad, but our Warlock is pulling through the mist. And my goal here is to own the Stalker, because the Stalker bite does huge damage. So I'm just watching the Stalker. And there I didn't have combo points, so I end up using blind on the Stalker. And I'm just going to be targeting him. I guess I don't stop the rampage a couple of times here because I'm so focused on the Stalker. The bucking rampage is another high value stop, but other people can do it, and I've already called out that I'm going to be owning the Stalker. The Stalker, especially when it's bolstered, is going to one-shot people. So that being said, so is the bucking rampage, and in that case, there was no Stalker, and I had kidney shot, so that was a mistake on my end that cost our shaman his life. So going in here, I call that I have the right tender, and I put them on focus, and then I'm actually going to be putting my damage into the defender, because the defender has more HP than the other mobs. It's not by a lot, so the extra cryo is not strictly necessary, but it is definitely helpful. And then, because all of these mobs have like roughly the same HP, I'm just pressing Black Powder here, and it's like super easy, right? I'm literally just pressing the 2 buttons and getting into Shadow Dance and pressing Symbols of Death whenever I can, and it's super easy. So we have a single target fight, and I have most everything. I think I actually mess up here, so let's see what I do. Flag, and then, okay, so I should have ruptured. So the mistake I made is I put flag on this matriarch, and then I didn't rupture. I went straight into my Shuriken Tornado. I was feeling rushed to get some funnel from the relics, and I don't think I need to worry about that. I think if I just even press Shuriken Tornado in single target, that's value. It's not as much value as getting it on the relics, but it's definitely enough value, and it's higher value than... And it's higher value than pressing flag and then not pressing rupture right away and casting Shuriken Tornado with full combo points. So again, we are going to pull through the mist here, and we have a problem here in that the Stalker casts Bite like instantly, and it goes out on our shaman. So our shaman's in rough shape right now. And I have no combo points. I should have blinded there. Luckily, that bite went out onto our DK tank. And he's pretty sturdy, so you don't have to worry about that too much. But now I'm like just watching the stalker, right? I've got that guy on focus, and I'm just watching that bite cooldown. That's like my main priority right now, is stopping that. So I'm holding globals right now, and I hit it with blind because I really don't want that bite to go off. And I even put an eviscerate in to make sure that that stalker dies as soon as possible. I maybe should have considered just funneling the stalker there instead of pressing black powder. That might have been higher value, especially given that we had 2 bites go off. But I felt like once we got into a rhythm there, the bites were less dangerous. I was able to stop them after that first one went off. So again, getting into the AoE rotation, I go in, I put it flag with full combo points. Oh, this is kind of unfortunate. I didn't stop the bucking rampage. I think so. I have kidney shot, and I should stop the next bucking rampage. Let's see. Okay, so I get that one. I had one of the... I think I had a defender targeted, and that's definitely a mistake. The Guardian is going to be doing that bucking rampage. Well, I guess there's... Yeah, I had a defender targeted. So that was definitely a mistake. I should be targeting the Guardian. So here I'm going to own the Stalker again. I've got one of the Guardians targeted, and going to be getting in Flag, Rupture, and then Shadow Dance and Shuriken Tornado. I think I make a mistake here. So I blinded the Stalker. And now I'm holding a global to land the kidney shot on the Stalker. But now I don't have stops for that. Okay, so it looks like we had a Shadow Fury that stopped that. And a grip to stop that. Now let's see, do I get... Oh, I think I missed this one, and it hits our priest. Like, it did nearly all of our priest's HP in one shot. If that guy's any more bolstered, or it's any higher key, then our priest dies there. So that's one thing I'm working on, is figuring out when I need to hold a global to make sure I can land some CC. It's very important. So going into this boss, the name of the game is making sure that we're using DPS cooldowns to blow up the clone during the intermission. We want to get out of that as quickly as possible. I make a mistake in not using Shuriken Tornado when the relics were up, and I should probably even be using it here, but otherwise I did a pretty good job of managing my cooldowns there and reacting to Weapon Master procs. So here I see that the leaf is the only leaf, and I have all my CDs, so we're just going to be bursting this guy down. And here I'm kind of hoping to wait and get Flag onto the boss. And I pop my Agipot. And I should get a pretty high stack Flag, so a 28 stack Flag. And I go into a second Shadow Dance because I see that it's going to be a while before my next Symbols of Death. I greed some combo point generation on the Fox by hitting it with some Shuriken Storms. And in this case, it ends up being this clone over here. We have a fox spawn right in melee range, and that was actually sick. So a couple things happened there. One, I tried to use my cloak to immune the dodgeball, and apparently that doesn't work. Second, our blood DK took... He pulled the boss away from the clone, and then used AMS and ripped the fox away from us to soak the fox. That was actually sick. Because the kidney shot was about to run out, and we hadn't quite finished the clone, so that helped us deal more damage. Overall, I'm feeling way more comfortable with Weapon Master. I've been playing it now for a week or two. Oh, this was lucky. I didn't even have to move. Let's go. Yeah, so I've been playing Weapon Master for a couple weeks now, and I'm feeling a lot more comfortable with it. And one of the things that I ended up doing that helped out a lot was shortening my spell queue window to 200 milliseconds from, I think the default is 400 milliseconds. So having that extra, fifth of a second to react and be able to press a finisher instead of just spamming Shadow Strike really helps. So definitely recommend doing that if you are finding yourself accidentally queuing up another Shadow Strike after a Weapon Master proc. So here we're just going to do this small pack. Gonna get in, flag, slice and dice, then Shuriken Tornado, get into a Dance Symbols window, and then I'm just bombing Eviscerates into this Staghorn. Staghorn has way more HP than everything else, so I want to get it to be quite a bit lower. And now I should probably swap to Black Powder, because the Staghorn is now lower than all of the other mobs, and it's going to be one of the first things to die. So I could definitely do more damage here if I start hitting Black Powders. And the Staghorn's not particularly dangerous. We have plenty of kicks, and like that's not a problem. So yeah, not pressing Black Powder there is actually a mistake. Because now I end up using flag on that one guy because he's pretty low. But everyone was low, but he used the highest HP mob, so I used flag on him, and that was fine. I got 30 stacks of it, but now I don't have flag for this pull, and flag would have been better here. And I think if I pressed Black Powder on that earlier pull, then would have been better off. We don't end up doing a double pull here because we already have enough count from pulling through the mist wall. So we get these Reavers, but we're in kind of rough shape because we're getting hit by Quaking, and the Reavers start putting the poison on everyone, and we don't have a poison dispel. So I end up using Cloak to drop the poison. I also end up hitting the Reaver with a Kidney Shot just to try and stop some of those poisons from spreading. And our healer ends up with 3 stacks, and he's gonna die. So that was a bit unfortunate, but we end up finishing this pull out okay. So this pull I don't have flag, but I still go in, get full combo points with the Shuriken Storm, and get the Rupture going on the Staghorn. And I'm back to funneling the Staghorn. I do put 1 Rupture on that just to help get the down a little bit. And at this point, the Staghorn's still quite a bit higher than the other mobs, so I should be targeting the Staghorn, even if I'm not pressing Eviscerates into the Staghorn. It's still worth doing that, just so I'm getting all those melee hits in. Like, if you look at damage breakdowns for rogues at the end of keys, melee is like oftentimes like second or third in terms of how much damage it does. So even just targeting a mob is enough to deal some extra damage. And there I end up putting flag on the Staghorn, and because we're in AoE, I'm able to get 30 stacks of flag, and that ends up doing a lot of funnel. Even though I'm pressing black powder, it's still dealing a bunch of damage. So I end up also getting flag back because we got and I put flag on this skull-marked acid gullet, and I'm just pressing AoE buttons, but that guy's still gonna die pretty soon, in part because I'm targeting him, and I also put the flag on. I'm guessing other people are also doing damage to skull as well, but that extra prio is definitely valuable. And then at this point, it's just we're in full AoE mode, so we're pressing 2 buttons at this point. Very easy. I'm in a rush, so I sprint, and I think that was a mistake. I think the one shadow step would have been enough, but I really wanted to get up to this boss and start hitting it. And I have my Agipot. I should have pressed Agipot here because I had flag and full CDs, and I'm just sitting on Agipot, so that was a mistake. I'm guessing at this point that I'm so tunnel visioned that I'm not even going to press Agipot during this boss fight, which is a damn shame. So this fight has a couple of things that are difficult, but also a couple of things that work in your favor. So the positioning requirements are kind of rough. There's just puddles and shit everywhere that's gonna try to kill you. But you can take advantage of all of the ads and get some good boss damage funneling from those ads. And that feels really satisfying, actually, to take advantage of. So here we have pretty much a full flag window. And I get a Shuriken Tornado, and I get to just funnel off these ads. It's, like, really satisfying. Let's see. Slightly out of range there, so I miss a global, but it's not the end of the world. And I still have Cloak. I'm kind of curious to see how I use Cloak here. One really high value use of Cloak is if you get targeted by Mind Link, you can Cloak to not actually get it applied to you. You have to Cloak before it. Okay, so I just Cloak to stand in that shit. That was probably not a good use of Cloak. But yeah, you can Cloak to avoid getting Mind Link applied to you, but you have to do it before the cast goes off. If you get hit by Mind Link and then Cloak, it isn't going to work. So now the Mind Link's on me. I wish I had Cloak there, because now I have to run out and Dwarf Shadows away, but the boss is almost dead, so it's not the end of the world. So yeah, that was a pretty fun key. We're off to a rough start, but it worked out pretty well in the end. And I got a little bit of score. Feels good. Got no gear though. That's okay. Not the end of the world. But yeah, let me know in the comments if you enjoy the commentary or if you have any feedback as well. I'm always looking for ways to improve these videos, so hearing from you is one of the best ways for me to improve the videos. So let me know what kinds of content you want to see, or if there was anything you really liked about this or really disliked about it, and I will see you in the next one. Good luck out there.